Hello everybody, today we're going to make some salt dough. So I'm here in the community room at Bolton Railway Station on platform 5 and Steph is with me filming me and my name as always is Julie. So to make the salt dough we're going to need the following ingredients. First of all, make sure you've got something on that will protect your clothing, because if you get salt dough on you it can make a mess. It'll wash off, but you might not want to have it on your clothes. So first of all, most important ingredient is plain flour. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with flour, there are lots of different types of flour. One is called self-raising, the main one, and the other one's called plain, which is this. We don't want to use the self-raising, you need plain flour. And the other thing you'll need is ground salt. Now, you don't want coarse ground salt, like sea salt, you need the fine ground salt. You can buy both of these things in any supermarket, and they're not very expensive. The next thing you'll need for this stage is a cup and a fork. And we're going to make the dough and knead the dough. So, the recipe for the salt dough is as follows. You use 2 cups of flour, 1, 2, and then we need 1 cup of salt. Put those all in the mixing bowl and give them a bit of a mix around with your fork. Just mix them in together. So that's the basic dry ingredients, and now what we're going to use is 1 cup of water. It's best if you use slightly warm water, but not hot water. But I've got cold water here, you can use that as well. And what you want to do is make a little bit of a dip in the middle of the bowl and pour some of the water in, not all. Because what we don't want to do is to make the mixture too soggy. So I'm going to start mixing in the water. You can see that's not enough because it hasn't come together. So what we're trying to do is to make it come together in a ball of dough. So that's starting to come together, but not enough water. So again, we'll put some more of the water in. So I've put in, first of all, I put in about half of it. Then I've just about put in another quarter of it. So I've still got some water left. We don't want to make it too floppy. If we make it too floppy, we won't be able to work it properly. So keep stirring around, stirring around. You can see now that it's coming together, starting to come together as a lump. And that's what we're trying to achieve, to get it to come together in one big lump. So I'm going to have a little bit more water. See if that's enough. I've got just a tiny bit left in my mug now. And you should be able to see now that the dough's starting to form into a lump. And when it's ready, it will come clean away from the sides of the bowl. So there's still a little bit of dry there. So I'm using the very last of my water on it. It's quite stiff to mix around. So if you're a child, you might need a grown-up to help you stir it at this point because it's quite stiff. There we go. So you can see now that that's come together as one big lump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the bowl. So let's put my fork down here. And before I take it out of the bowl to knead it, let's put these things out of the way. I'm going to put some flour onto the surface that I'm kneading it on. Because if you don't, it'll just stick to the surface. So we're using just a tabletop here. You could use a kitchen work surface, as long as it's somewhere that you're not going to put precious papers or things down on top of afterwards. So put some flour down like that onto your surface, and then we're going to get the bowl and take the lump of dough out with our hands. So there's our dough. And to start to knead it, we're going to put it onto the floured surface and we're going to press it, and then fold it and then press it and fold it, keep turning it, press it and fold it. So you keep turning the dough. If it starts to stick, put some more flour down. And what this is doing, this is stretching the fibres in the flour. The gluten, I think it's called. I'm not very scientific, but I think that's what it's called. And it makes the dough more elastic. So you keep doing this, and believe it or not, you've got to do this for 10 minutes. So it can get quite tiring, but it's what you've got to do if you want to make the best plastic dough that you can. And I'll keep doing that for a few more minutes, but then I'm going to move on, because in true Blue Peter style, I made one earlier. So that's the basic recipe and the first basic process for the dough. So I'm going to set this dough aside and go and get the one that I made. I actually made it last night because it will keep overnight, and show you the next stage. So here's one I made last night, and this one has been kneaded for 10 minutes. So we'll just give it a quick refresh. So if you don't want to use all your dough in one go, you can put it in a plastic bag and put it in the fridge, keep it overnight, or just keep it somewhere cool overnight. You can see that this one has already been worked. So that one's okay to use. So there we go. This is the dough that we're going to use. Now, for the next stage, we're going to need a template. Now today I'm going to make hearts. So I'm going to show you a heart template and how to make one. With your piece, take a piece of paper, it can be a piece of scrap paper, fold it down the middle, and you're going to draw a half a heart. So you're just going to make a round shape, go round, come down to a point, like that. Now the reason you do that is because if you try and draw one without this, you might get one side a different shape than the other. But if you fold it in half, you know that both sides are going to match. I'm going to cut that out. And there's my heart. Okay. Now you may have cutters. Some children and families have pastry cutters, which have got hearts in them. You can get shaped pastry cutters, or you can use the top of a lid off a jar to cut circles. You can use anything, or you can just cut things just freehand, just make things up. Now I went one step further last night and made a cardboard. There's my heart from last night, slightly different shape, they always come out different. And I used a piece of spare cardboard from one of the packets coming through the door at the moment to make a cardboard heart, only because it's a bit more serviceable in terms of using it over and over again. I'm going to take that now and we're going to go on to the next stage.